When it comes to Star Wars and the Disney parks and really Galaxy's Edge as a whole, I suppose it's up for debate. But in my personal opinion, I believe that this land has always been underwhelming. And one of the reasons being is that they never really followed through with a lot of the things I said they were going to do in this land and some of the aspects that are missing from it when you're talking about the overall Star Wars stories and many of the movies that are not represented in that land. Well, something interesting happened over in Disneyland, which I think is a great thing that they should implement more of. And that is that they had Rey battling Kylo Ren in Galaxy's Edge, much like they did on the Star Cruiser that is no longer with us now. So we're going to go through here, talk about why they did this and what we think that, how this could add some things into Galaxy's Edge. Because I think this is a land that definitely needs some help. So we're going to take a look at this. We've got some footage over here from Five Fires over on Twitter X. And then we have a story from Blog Mickey that talks about some of the things that were announced for Galaxy's Edge that didn't come in that we think would be a better addition and should be, I guess, re-implemented or just brought back again, as it never was brought back after it was initially announced. So, hi, I'm Jared with Capture the Magic. And again, this is from Five Fires here. This is Rey battling Kylo Ren, which, again, I'm not the biggest sequel trilogy fan, but having people actually do lightsaber duels in the Galaxy's Edge, land for Star Wars, I think is a good thing. Now, the reason they did this, there was a Make-A-Wish, I think a group of Make-A-Wish kids that they did this for. So I do, that's fine. I have no issue with them doing this. I just think they should do this more often and all the stuff. So we'll take a look at here of the battle here that they had.
The young ones have courage. They are strong. And their path leads to me.
Everyone, raise your lightsaber! Come on!
That's cool. Like, I'm not a sequel trilogy fan. I'm not a fan of Rey. I'm not a fan of Kylo in terms of I just didn't care for those movies at all. That's a different topic and a different video. But I think this is cool. Having lightsaber duels in Galaxy's Edge, that should be the bare minimum that you do. This should go on nightly as part of a show. And again, a lot of the things that they initially announced they were going to do in this land, they tried basically stuffing that into the Galactic Star Cruiser, one of which being this and some other aspects as well. So this, if you've ever seen the footage from that, which is the failed Star Wars hotel where you basically LARPed in terms of for a couple of days on a ship, in the Star Wars ship. This was similar to the fight that they would do there. So this, again, just bring this into the parks, and I think you're adding things into it that don't really cost you anything. Like, I think people would like to see more stuff like this. Or, I don't know, maybe bring in Darth Vader, considering he's the greatest movie villain probably ever in cinematic history, or one of them. Bring him into the Star Wars land, having fights with, different characters and things. That could be cool, just saying. But, though, on its face, they should do more of this, and I'm glad to see this. I'm glad those kids got to experience this, as I think that's a really good thing to do. But I just think this should be part of a nightly thing or a daily thing they do inside of Galaxy's Edge at both theme parks. But we can take a look over here at Blog Mickey about some things that were initially announced for Galaxy's Edge and then seeing what was built and what they ended up actually doing. So the first one we have was a table service restaurant was announced, and then it ended up being cut. And then there was even concept art for it here, which kind of looks a little bit like Oga's Cantina, but this was what they showed on the ABC Disneyland 60th TV. It was supposed to be where guests could go to, quote, go upscale at the planet's best diner club, and it was supposed to be a sit-down restaurant. That was cut. And then you can see here where they're shown on this area here where you could possibly, where it was going to be, and then it was cut out. But in this closer shot, we can see the circular roof of Oga's Cantina, which would have served as a lounge before patrons walked back into the restaurant. So as it stands today, Oga's Cantina serves a much bigger purpose than was originally intended. So Oga's was supposed to be the lounge for the restaurant. They just decided just to make Oga's the thing, which makes sense why Oga's is so small. And it was supposed to be just a lounge area attached to the restaurant. So that was ultimately cut. A Bantha ride was supposed to be a part of the land. Said the second notable cut from the final product as compared to released concept art is the Bantha ride. The ride was reportedly supposed to put guests on the back of a bantha, which you can see right here. It's kind of like a hairy elephant-like creature as it roamed the land. And they even had, again, you can see banthas in the concept art of them walking around. And this was the area kind of where it was supposed to be right there. Entertainment, and this gets to what we just saw here. So going back to the nighttime concept art we saw above, we can see the battle taking place on the rooftop between what appears to be a dark side character and a light side character. And not only that, when showing a clip of a stunt workshop that the Disney Imagineering team put together, Wendy Anderson, creative director of Walt Disney Imagineering, talked about using rooftops and ladders to bring the action to you. Said, here's a full panel of Imagineers and Lucasfilm execs talking about their concepts for the land. And this, you can check it out here on this article. And then Scott Trowbridge, lead Imagineer on the project, said that they were going to be doing, quote, action sequences in real time with you right in the middle of it. It's clear that Walt Disney Imagineering had big goals and really immersive plans for the land that ultimately got cut. So they clearly had anticipated doing this and planned on it, and somewhere along the way they decided to cut it out. I'm not really sure why, as lightsaber battles should be literally one of the main focuses you have when you build a Star Wars land. That is one of the things that people love about Star Wars are lightsaber battles. So I'm not really sure as to why this would have got cut. But again, bring it back, and I don't know, maybe use Darth Vader, maybe use other characters to have other battles. I think this would be a great aspect of this. And again, this wouldn't be that expensive to do. You just need to get people to, obviously have to train these people up, but compared to building a new attraction, it wouldn't be that expensive. I think this would go over very well and be a pretty big hit. There's supposed to be an unknown resistance area. Going back to the concept art, and so here is this release by Disney. So in the concept art, we can see what appears to be a circular opening in the Resistance Forest with what looks to be ancient ruins in the background and an X-wing in the foreground. Waterfalls and multi-level walking areas also were featured. That looks pretty cool and would be cool. Says, while we didn't get anything as large and dedicated as the area above, there is an X-wing to be found in Galaxy's Edge on what looks to be a landing pad. Now that you've seen the concept art, here's a look at what was built in the land as seen in all Disney's Hollywood studios. I mean, you can see these things, but again, it just seems like it's very, like, clearly there were budget cuts. That's one of the things that struck me when I first saw this land, of so much of it just seemed undeveloped in terms of what they had initially announced. And the rest of the article shows some other, differences. Most of it, though, a lot of the other things were, brought to life in terms of what they showed in the concept art. But I think it's a major thing missing out on this land is, and another thing they didn't put in this article was like supposed to be like roaming droids. You're supposed to have way more character interactions as a whole in here. So I feel like Galaxy's Edge, if they just made this actually two simple changes, and I think it would fix a lot of Galaxy's Edge's problems, beyond the fact that Star Wars is a very damaged brand at this point, and I think the movies and shows that they've recently done have done significant damage to the brand. But even with that going on still, if you first off just made it where you included all aspects of Star Wars, prequel, original trilogy, and then put in your sequel trilogy as well. But I think if you had the ability to use all these characters in this land, people would actually love it. You'd be able to see like Anakin and Darth Vader and all these other characters from these movies. Like, be able to celebrate those characters would be a great thing. And the second one would be implementing these lightsaber battles. I think that is one of the most, again, easiest things you could do in terms of it's not going to cost you a lot of money. You could use different types of characters. I think it would be something, a nighttime show or however you want to do this could be a really neat aspect to this land. And I think Star Wars fans and people in general would love to see that. So while we saw this, and I'm glad those kids got to experience it, it did give us a glimpse into like, why don't they do this all the time? I think this is something that they should take a cue from and just stick this in here, even if it is Rey and Kylo Ren, which I'm not the biggest fans of. That's still something cool and unique about this land, is that you can see these battles. And they did this for the Star Cruiser, tried to put it in there. Just take those same elements, put it over here, and just do it in this land, because I think Galaxy's Edge needs more. It just needs more TLC. I don't think it was a well done land. I think it screams to me a bunch of interference. Rumors are Kathleen Kennedy stepped in and made either requested or demanded many changes to it. So I think what the initial concept of it should have been, we're probably well beyond that, unless they ever want to redo this area, which I would be okay with. But if they're not going to do that, adding some of these things in here that originally were supposed to be part of this land, and we get a glimpse of it here that they did in this show in Disneyland, I think would be a good thing. It would actually help out the Disney parks. But we'll have to wait and see if they end up doing that. They end up keeping this show in here after the fan reaction. But I feel like most people are pretty positive about what they saw with that and would like to see this in the land. But I guess we'll have to wait and see if they make those changes and if we could see this more in the future. But as of right now, that's going to be it, though, for this video. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel, as we do lots of coverage here of Universal Studios, Epic Universe, Disney World, and pop culture. And let us know in the comments, do you think that having lightsaber battles in Galaxy's Edge would be an improvement, or do you think that they should just leave it how it is? And until next time, we will see you in the parks.